All right, everyone. I am here joined by Jodie Cook, the founder of Coachvox.ai, where they make AI coaches and all sorts of things where you can clone yourself utilizing their platform. Very cool. I'm actively building and fine-tuning my own Darby AI clone, and wanted to reach out to Jodie to see if she can come share a little bit more about what Coachvox is all about. And then some of the more, we have some more questions we were discussing here before this conversation got going. So Jodie, tell us a little bit about how you came across the idea of Coachbox in the first place, and what's the number one problem that you realized you were going to be solving with this tool?
So it started actually as a tool for voice note coaching. So coaching by voice note. And this was a platform that's totally different to the platform that we have now. And we were set up to onboard coaches, and they would use our platform to provide coaching services to their clients. We had an idea that AI would be involved at some point in the future, but we didn't exactly know how. What we thought we might be doing is incorporating AI to create a kind of a helper for our coaches, and mentors, to help them coach their clients better. When it was November, December 2022 and ChatGPT came out, I remember a friend sent me the link and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And for the whole day, I don't think I ate anything. I don't think I got dressed. I think I was just working it out, just talking to it, seeing what was coming back. And this light bulb moment was like, we can do what we want to do and more so much faster. So one of the quite early things I did with ChatGPT was I typed in GPT. I think I was being like really polite. I didn't really know how to approach it, so I was just being really polite to it at the time. And I said, please, can you write me an article that's called, and I gave it the title of an article that I had already written called How to Raise Entrepreneurial Kids. And I said, can you use the subheadings? And I listed out a load of subheadings that were in the article that I'd already written. And can you make it 1,000 words? And I clicked submit. And what came out was pretty much my original article. And I was looking at these words on the page being like, hey, I wrote this. Like, that's not fair. So I think at first I was probably impressed at first. But then after that, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I wrote this, but now it's coming out. And if someone else used the same prompt, which I probably didn't know was called a prompt at the time, then they would essentially have my content. And so I guess it started this kind of love-hate relationship with large language models, where I was like, this is kind of cool because I can get new headline ideas, I can generate ideas for my articles, and I can create stuff with it. But at the same time, it's using my content and repurposing it and giving it to other people. So I wasn't super sure what that would mean for the future. But then when we started thinking about how we could incorporate it into Coachbox, we pretty much realized that we could use this as a tool that would help creators protect their work from just everyone else using it, and let them ring fence their content essentially and take ownership of it. So the big premise behind Coachvox AI is that someone can use their content to generate leads or to add value to their audience, or charge for access in this package that is essentially an AI version of them that they can't do with something like ChatGPT, because it's not got their name on it. It's their content, but it's not their name. So that's the background to Coachbox AI, and that's how it works.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how you end up we end up at the products that we do, and the road that kind of leads us there through just especially all this AI innovation coming up is it's opening up new opportunities, but also new challenges, right? At the same time, and that like even in Hollywood, right, you see the protests against AI, on that front, and all the different areas that you're seeing AI for artists and that
Yeah,
conversation
yeah,
and authors in general. And so it's something that I've seen and been observing in that, like, as general as all these LLMs get, it seems like the trend is going to be towards more customized, more fine-tuned, smaller, really specific knowledge bases, kind of like what we were doing with Coachbox, because then they can trust maybe the source that they're getting it from.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's a
are you
big
seeing
part of it.
what are some other things that you're seeing in terms of what's drawing people to interacting with these AI coaches? What kind of like feedback have you gotten from your coaches, from their clients? I'm just kind of curious how that conversation is going from your side of the field.
So I think, so firstly, what's drawing the creators to start making them is that they start realizing that what they are selling, and that's because all our creators who create their Coachbox AI, they're kind of knowledge workers in some way. So they are authors or consultants or coaches, and they have courses and they have podcasts. And what they are realizing is that more and more people are going to ChatGPT and going to AI tools to get their knowledge, which then poses this massive question. How can these creators continue to sell their knowledge, so their courses, their books, everything else, when really ChatGPT knows everything? So the problem that they come to us with is like, I want to keep ownership and I want to stay relevant. I want to stay being that voice of authority that people come to, rather than them going to a generic place for their information. So then they pretty much use it in one of three ways, which then leads to the question on how their clients interact with their AI models. And the first is that they'll put it on their site as a lead generation tool. So they collect email addresses, they let their AI version interact with their audience members, and they see in the kind of Coachvox dashboard what they've been talking about, a summary of the conversation, how many times this person's come back to speak to them. And so they use that as a way of getting people on their email list and building familiarity with their audience. And many of our creators do have very big audiences. They've spent time on their personal brand. They've been creating content for many years. The second use case is people who have got an existing membership group or an existing course or something where they have their audience members in a very specific place, like a private group. So one of our creators is called Rose, and she is a coach to female entrepreneurs to help them make their first million. And she has got a private Facebook group for the people who complete her coaching programs and the people that she actively coaches. And she was spending about 5 hours a week answering questions in that Facebook group. But now Rosebot answers those questions. So she launched it to the group as a value add, as like a, hey, this is how my content and my knowledge and my theories can help you with your problems, even when I'm asleep or unavailable. And you can ask it whatever you want. And then the third use case that we're seeing is creators who are charging for access to their AI. And this one's pretty cool because I wasn't sure the world was ready to pay for AI coaching, but the world is ready to pay for AI coaching. And a few of our creators are charging. I've seen $7 a month, I've seen $9 a month, I've seen $10 a month, to like hundreds of thousands of people to then get coaching from them. So the clients that they're attracting, whether that's clients of the free versions or the paid versions, are pretty much looking for that creator's content, but applied in a way that's applicable to them. So like if you read a book, the book's not going to coach you. The book's not going to talk you through your problems. It's up to you to do that. It's up to you to kind of read the book and go, okay, how can I apply this to me? But if you talk to the AI of someone who's written a book, it's like you are being coached through that book. So people just love it because it's focused on them. It's not something that they have to work extra to get more out of. And then even on top of that, it's available 24/7. You can ask it stupid questions because it's not a real person. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to turn up late to a coaching session. It's not going to just cancel at the last minute. It's probably low cost, if not no cost. And a lot of the things that we weren't sure about in terms of how much value someone would get out of something that they knew was being like, it doesn't matter because the pros outweigh the cons in such a big way.
I loved all the different use cases there. And to recap them was like, first was just getting leads on your site. And then a second, so you're like augmenting yourself to interact with your leads. And I'm guessing you see people sending people to certain payment pages, certain resources on your blog, whatever you're training it with. So you can get really creative with how you can train those conversations. And then membership groups as an additional value add for an existing audience, people paying your membership to help them get more out of that membership. And then the third is kind of, it sounds like a lower ticket monetization.
Yeah.
$7 to $10 a month for just charging for access to maybe specialized knowledge that, someone can get as an addition to a book purchase, maybe complementary with a book purchase, but
yeah,
kind of a unique way to stand out as an author, to say that I've cloned myself and You can talk to
Yes.
my AI version of me to help you actually get more results from the book that you're reading.
Yeah, totally. That's a really fun thing that we've seen as well. So in my last book, in the back page and mentioned throughout was a companion course. And it was like, hey, if you like the book, you can see more, you can see video walkthroughs. And that was where I sent people. But now I would send people to Jodie AI, and our creators who are also authors are saying exactly that. Like, talk to my book, get coached from my book, and helping them get more value from the content that they've already written. And that's such a big part of it. It's like our creators, they've already done the hard work. They've already created all the stuff. They don't necessarily need to keep on the content grind. They can use everything that they've already done and turn it into something that's kind of the ultimate lead magnet that never runs out, because it's based on the person interacting with it rather than just whatever happens to be the content it's based on.
Yeah, no, I love that. And how simple it is to be able to charge for that, I think is that's a gap that I've seen at Side. I'm like, why aren't people making it easy for you to create these apps and just start charging for them? But I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to see more apps with that ability into it, which I think is great because it gives you that ability to not just create, but then package and productize it in such an easier fashion. And with AI being a huge topic right now and a growing topic of conversation, I mean, I think you and I are both on the same page. This isn't just a fad, and this is really going to revolutionize like all areas of how we're working and how, we're growing in business and life. But I mean, it's accelerating so fast. So this is the perfect time for creators, for entrepreneurs, for people that are looking for a way to stand out and be different,
Yeah.
to very quickly get something like this up. And I mean, I don't know what the average maybe upstart time from your side you see, like, is it a matter of 5 hours of focused work, 10, 15? It probably took me about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours of like heads down focus one morning, having already collected a lot of my documents beforehand.
Got you. Yeah.
What are you seeing in terms of like a general upstart time from a creator or a consultant or a coach that has the content already? They just need to like get in there and do it themselves, or teach one of their team members to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing all different types. So good to know that yours took about 3 hours. I think a lot of it depends on the breadth of questions that you are likely to be asked. Because if your AI is likely to be asked questions on a very specific topic, like one of our creators, he wrote a series of fiction books, and he's created AIs for each of the characters. So they're going to get asked about that character's world. They're not going to get asked about a spaghetti bolognese recipe because it just wouldn't be relevant. So it doesn't take him very long to train each one and each character because it's so narrow. But if you were like a marketing entrepreneur and you wanted to teach your AI on the entirety of marketing, then you want to be able to upload your content, and you might need to create content to help give your AI a kind of world view. Because like if you ask ChatGPT, what makes good marketing, it would give you an answer, but we want the creator's response and the creator's own opinion on that. So they would need to include that information when they're training their AI. And if they don't have that in the content that they put out so far, then we'd want them to go and get it. But we've got a lot of training documentation on exactly how you do it. One of our creators is an astrologer called Alice. And for the last 12 years, she has written a book every single year in the exact format required to train an AI. So she showed me her content, and I was like, whoa. It was almost like she knew. It was almost like she knew in advance that was exactly what she needed to do. So there are formats of content that you might already have that would be perfect to upload in our training rooms to turn that into an AI straight away. But yeah, it could be up and running in a couple of hours. If you wanted to really train it in depth, it could be a few weeks, but you could equally give someone in your team the process, and they could follow it to train your AI for you.
Yeah. And I say 3 hours on my end is I'm still figuring out ways I want to like build. That was like for the MVP version of like, okay, this works, we could start testing it. But I could see there's so many more ways that you could utilize this once you get going. And so I think it's more like like consistently like keeping it up to date and creating content in such a way that makes it really easy for it to train and upload and stay up to date. Can we backtrack for a second into the formatting of say a book, for example. A lot of folks in our community do books, courses, and other forms of content. Can you walk us through what an ideal format looks like, so it can be more effective with, where we're spending the time and focus on creating content?
Yeah. So written content is the best. And there's kind of two ways of doing it in our system. So before we had the Coachbox AI system fully built out, our first creators, like the beta creators that started off the whole platform, they were creating their own Excel spreadsheets and then uploading them into the platform. But now we have a system where in one of our training rooms, you can upload your stuff and we turn it into the kind of question and answer format that's required to train a model. So there was a long way and now there's a quick way. But what we recommend people do is that when they're inside our training rooms, they upload like one document at first, like an article that they've written or a blog post they've written, see what comes out, see the training data, and see if the question answer format looks like the type of questions that their audience member would ask and looks like the type of answers that you'd receive, which it should, because that you'd give, which it should, because it's coming from their data, their documents. And then once they've done that with a few documents, we would recommend going into a different training room inside Coachvox and having like a live conversation with their own AI version. Because then you can ask it the types of questions your audience members would ask you. And then you can see what it comes back based on the limited training data that you might have given it so far. And then that's when you can do that fine tuning and say, okay, so I would have phrased this slightly differently, or here's the follow-up question I would have asked. And then you do it from there. And then I would keep uploading content incrementally. I would also ask you, like, involve your audience in the training process. So you could use, like, you could tweet out, like, I'm training an AI version of me. What would you ask it? And then make sure that you're training it on those questions that they're going to ask it, and make sure that it comes up with responses that you would be proud of. We made like a promo workshop on various different things that you can do when you are training your AI to get your audience really excited, get them part of training it, and get them ready for when it launches to start chatting to it as well.
Yeah, I know those all great ideas for going about the testing process, getting it out, building that engagement online, which is so critical for, community, audience, just staying on top of it as a creator.
Yeah.
And so something I think that for everyone that's watching this, that's gone through any of our programs on like writing books with AI or otherwise, is what we've talked about since for the last few years anyways, and going through this process, is like the pre-marketing and the pre-selling of what you're doing and the idea. Like a lot of that content can start getting dripped out as you're building a product. And so people see what you're doing, they're engaging with you online. And it's always something fun to talk about if you're working on things that are exciting and meaningful to you. I see this type of platform and cloning yourself as an evolutionary process where any number of us can engage with our audience or clients, let them know that you're building this thing. Because while a lot of us are very close to the center of where the AI conversation is, a lot of people are just like mind blown when you like not even aware that this stuff is even going on or possible. And so, if this leading by example and sharing your experience online is a great way to stand out in the crowd on whether it's this cloning yourself with a Coachvox or any number of AI tools. I just want to encourage everyone to, as you're creating, keep sharing what is fun and exciting about what we're doing in AI, to give other people ideas about the opportunities that we're seeing here. Because, as you know, Jodie, how fast the speed of change is going here.
Yeah.
There's some exciting stuff coming up. Also some things to kind of be wary about that I know you address on too. Is there anything in like, 2024, as we're kind of coming up here towards the new year, anything that really excites you about where things are going? And then also, is there anything that you think that, with the cloning of humans, is there anything that should be part of the conversation to maybe be aware of how we avoid something going south in this field?
I think at the moment, what's really exciting me just about AI coaches and people cloning themselves is the results that they can get for clients. And I've just been added into the Slack group of one of our creators who is charging for access to his AI, and reading through their comments of them speaking to his AI, getting help in their marketing campaigns, and then actually making money from the advice that they've received from an AI. I think that's super cool. I think there'll be more and more of those stories. And I think definitely excited for our creators to be using that for press, and using that to like create attention around their work and what they're doing, and have all the hard work that they've put in so far making just more impact with not that much more effort. It's also in the promo video that we share, like how you can run a test with a bunch of people in your audience to see what results they get, to then turn that into different headlines, like, you know, an AI coach helped me lose 20 pounds, or an AI coach helped me like find lasting love, or something like that, because the first marriage counselor to create their AI coach will be able to get that headline, and this will happen in every single field. So I think being the first is a really good idea, because being the first person to create a PDF download with the checklists is not newsworthy, but being the first person to become the AI squat coach, or whatever field you're in, is really newsworthy. So that's the side of it that I'm definitely really excited about. I think on the flip side, I think some of the quite interesting things that we've seen just even coming through the inquiry form on our website, there was a teacher the other day who sent a message in to say, hey, so I'm creating my AI. I know that it says AI at the top of the chat screen, but can you like not make it say AI? And she was like, and also I know that the responses from my AI go out straight away, but can you put them on a bit of a delay, like a kind of random delay? And I was like, what's she talking about? And then I realized that she didn't want people to know that it was an AI version of her. She wanted people to think that it was like actually her responding to people. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. That's not what we're here for at all. But it's kind of interesting, because can you imagine a doctor who creates like an AI version of them, who wants it to like give medical advice, or like a legal advice, or property advice, or investment advice, or something like that. So one thing that we're really big on is make sure people know that it's AI, that it's not actually real, because what you don't want is for something that you create to mislead people and to mean that they act in ways that they wouldn't if they knew that it wasn't a real person.
Yeah, it brings up a whole potential other offshoot episode of like going into the ethics and like responsible use of AI. But like, I think it sounds like you're taking the stance of way on the obvious ethical side when it comes to this stuff. Anything that other industries besides just what Coachvox is doing that you see this conversation happening? And like, I've seen like people using celebrity AI clones of celebrities for things like that. Is there anything else that is on your radar that maybe we just pay attention to, because this conversation can get very serious and have real repercussions if, you know, as the technology evolves?
Yeah, I think the deep fake side of things is real. I think that everyone should teach their parents and grandparents about this. Like seriously, I think tell them that it's really easy to create a clone of someone's voice, of someone's appearance, and say one day you could get a call, you'll think it's me, it'll sound like me, it'll say things I would say, and it'll ask you for money, but it won't be me. So like, have a family safe word, or have questions that you ask that only they know the answer to, that aren't online anywhere. And I'd plant those seeds with people who are less tech savvy, just so they're protected as well, because some of the deep fake stuff is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild how good it is right now, and just scary to think about where it's going to be going, which of course is going to open up a lot of other conversations around how to protect people against AI fraud, or you know, cloning yourself, and you know where your content is stored being official. And it seems like a big value add for like going with a platform that has these like safeguards in mind out the gate. You say, I believe on your website, you're not training, like GPT-4 is not learning and training its own models based on the content that you're putting in your own bot. That content that you're feeding it is the authors, is the coaches, is the consultants. So it's safe from being utilized and taken to go and feed AI models. That, just to make sure I understand that correctly, as people are considering platform security is a big issue when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So our platform is built on OpenAI, but we engage with them through their API, and the information that creators put into our platform, we we ring fence it. We don't use it to train any other models. We certainly don't create anything that that is not theirs. We make sure that they continue to own and reap the benefits of the hard work that they're put in. And we are creators ourselves as well. So it's really important that this is at the forefront of everything that we do, because we created the whole program, the whole platform, so that creators can be rewarded for the work they've done.
Yeah, I think it's a great platform for exactly this type of use case, and I think we're gonna see more interesting use cases. Obviously, as more people get to utilizing the tool and applying it. One question I have before we wrap up on this call is other maybe non-creator specific use cases for utilizing your platform to add value as part of maybe an agency for marketing, creating these for their own clients. Have you seen that where people are maybe understanding the tech and how to build about, and then working with a creator or an author that maybe has a book or has a course, but they don't have the time or the bandwidth themselves to go and do this? Have you seen that, or do you foresee any kind of like partnerships coming from within the community for AI clone builders?
Potentially. I'm trying to think of specific examples from our creator base. One thing that I have seen is people who own businesses but don't necessarily have their own content still building AIs based on their company. So one in particular is a running brand based in Australia who wanted to create a running coach, and they didn't necessarily have content of their own. They've got their kind of ethos, they've got the stuff that they talk people through, but it's not like fully formed. So I taught the owner a process for coming up with all these different questions that someone might ask their AI and all the different topics that they could ask about, and then using ChatGPT itself to come up with the answers based on the ethos and the values and the vision on their site. So it was like, we put all their website into ChatGPT, and then we said, what are 100 questions that someone might ask this type of coach? And based on this content and this ethos, how would you answer them? And then this creator then looked through all those responses, edited them so that he was completely happy with them, and used that to train his Coachbox AI model. So then it came out with a running coach, even though he hardly had any content whatsoever.
That's a really cool use case. So you're using AI to help with responding and creating the context that you're going to feed it into, like build your own coach with that. And that's really cool. I mean, so that opens up a whole new world for brands that want to have a way to interact with their customers and have their personality and with this and all the information.
Using AI to build an AI. It's like using a 3D printer to print a 3D printer. It's like it's so meta, but it makes a lot of sense. And especially because in our system, the content that they trained it on was important, but the more important thing was the fine tuning and the seeing what it would say. And if they typed in like, okay, I'm training for this marathon, what should I do? I've had this injury before, seeing what came out and checking that was the right kind of response, and then editing it from there. But they could very much use just ChatGPT to come up with the base level of content.
Cool. And so there's no excuse for people that don't want to clone some version of themselves for their business. And there's a way to go about doing it. Not to say that everyone needs to do that right now, but I think it's surprisingly simple to go about starting to get one of these clones of yourself up. But also, again, when we're talking about this in the form of our marketing, we can add new leads to our website with something as simple as an AI clone bot. You can add new value to members of like an existing community or a paid membership program that you're already running. You could also just charge for access to the Coachvox bot, or really any sort of program that you'd want to include this with as a value add. So a number of pretty low-hanging fruit ways that I think a lot of creators, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and brands out there that are looking for ways to integrate AI in a really simple way that definitely makes you stand out from giving away yet another PDF checklist, like you said.
No one cares about your PDF, but they do want to talk to an AI version of you. I'm pretty confident that holds true for almost every creator.
Absolutely. And for anyone that would like to learn more about Coachvox and signing up for the platform. We are affiliated with Coachvox and are helping people within our own community create their own clone AIs. You can go to Coachvox to check out their platform at genaiuniversity.com/Coachvox. And Jodie, for those that would like to connect with you directly and maybe have some questions and want to just talk about anything in AI and cloning themselves, where can they find out more and connect with you?
Yeah, I would be happy to hear from anyone who had more questions. Probably the best place is actually Twitter or X. I don't want to call it X. We're going to call it Twitter for a little bit. And my username is at Jodie, JODIE_Cook, COOK. And then feel free to message through Coachbox, the website as well.
All right. And so when people are on Coachvox.ai is the direct link to Coachvox. They scroll down, I think, and you can just enter your email and your name and start to talk with Jodie AI.
Yes, you can do that as well. Yep, definitely. So Jodie AI is through the Coachbox website, and then Real Jodie is most often on Twitter.
All right. That sounds good. So Jodie, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share more about your story and Coachvox and the future of AI and cloning yourself to grow your business. Any parting words that you'd love to leave anyone with who is interested in this space and creating content with AI?
Well, one of the things that you messaged about earlier was about the emotional intelligence of AI and if it ever will be as good as a human. And I think that was a really important question that we didn't necessarily cover, but I think it's so important to remember that they're not emotionally intelligent at all, and they perhaps never will be. It's almost like they can fake it, they can mimic having empathy and having all these different emotions, but they actually don't. So I think that it's just something really important to keep in mind whenever you're engaging with AIs, and when you've got expectations of what your own AI will achieve when it's talking to its own clients as well.
Jodie, thank you so much again, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Darby.
everyone.
See you.